Last time on the Skip and Josh podcast.
A character that I don't think anyone ever saw, but you heard, the teacher on the Peanuts. Wah wah, wah 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 wah. That's how the teacher sounded.
But as a kid, when you heard that wah wah wah, it resonated because that's like your teacher talking and you just not listening.
You're listening to the Skip and Josh podcast with Skip Sherman and Josh Obadia.
Okay, Skip, today we're going to talk about our favorite sports uniforms, but before we get to that, have you noticed that we haven't done What Bugs Me in a long time?
Is it because there's just nothing bugging you these days? Like, I have so many notes, like with the 2 weeks in between shows, I have so many notes about things. So don't you have that too? Or
I have a bunch of notes, but I have a theory as to why nothing has been bugging me lately.
Sure, okay.
It sort of coincides with around the same time that I canceled all my sports channels. Since I haven't been watching sports, nothing really has bugged me.
It says a lot, Josh, because for 40 years you've been watching sports, right?
And for 40 years, things have been bugging me.
Right. So sports has been like sort of on the lowdown, on the DL, kind of stressing you out for 40 years. And even though you thought you're enjoying sports, it's actually been a source of stress, probably.
It has. In fact, for example, when Montreal had a baseball team and we were all happy that there was a team, I was stressed every time I watched an Expos game.
Yeah, the Expos were really like something that like preoccupied our minds like all the time, no?
I mean, when they would lose a game, I'd be upset until the next game started.
Yeah.
Luckily, there were games every day.
I remember those days. You have to have a short memory in baseball with 162 games.
Oh, jeez. There's nothing more stressful than that.
So no sports channels, Josh. But like, we had a day this week where the NFL, NHL, NBA, Major League Baseball, and also WNBA and MLS and the US Open were all playing on the same day.
It's been a busy week, actually, and that was a huge day.
Did you watch that first NFL game of the season? There was fans in the seats.
I did not watch. To be honest, I was at a pub where the game happened to be on one of the screens.
Yeah.
But like I just glanced at the screen maybe twice to see what the score was, but I wasn't actually watching the game.
I heard there's going to be 3 teams that are going to have fans. I don't know who they are, though. Like, I'm not really sure.
I heard that also.
But obviously, Kansas City's one of them. They had 22% capacity.
So I don't understand why only 3. Like, if 3 teams can do it, then the other teams can do it also.
No, I get it. All has to do with the individual state governors, but then also the cities and the counties. Like, who knows, right? So
it's pretty crazy that in the entire United States, they have like 50 different sets of rules.
Yeah, it really is crazy. I mean, we're in Canada. We just have to deal with 10 sets of rules.
So I have to tell you about a story I read online today.
Yeah.
So you know that last year, it seemed like every week, or maybe it was 2 years ago, every week there was another weird baseball injury that I was telling you about.
Well, hold on. Mark Kleinman, our one of our fans in Philadelphia, sent me a link yesterday. Is this about Zach Wheeler?
Yes, this is about Zach Wheeler. So you recall, I don't know if it was last year or 2 years ago, one guy hurt himself getting out of the shower, and then another guy hurt himself taking out the garbage.
Or carrying luggage.
That's right, yes.
Yeah.
And another guy, remember, he hurt his back because the bed at the hotel, the mattress, remember that one?
That's right, that was someone on the Giants.
No, I thought it was on the Cubs, no?
Oh yes, it was someone on the Cubs. It might have been, what's his name, the first baseman, no?
Yes, Chris Bryant, I think. Or no, Anthony Rizzo, yeah. Yeah, I mean, so like these baseball players, I don't know what they're made of, but they get the weirdest injuries. So listen to this one. Zach Wheeler, you just mentioned it. He's going to miss his next start because they might have to remove the nail on his right middle finger because it got caught in the zipper of his pants.
Right. Too much. It's too much, Josh.
Like, is this for real?
I guess it is. It's a zipper injury.
You're on the 10-day DL because of your zipper. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, it is. You can't, if you didn't read it in like a news story, you'd never believe it, no? Like
you wouldn't.
That's too much. But like, do you have stuff that's bugging you this week? I have a couple of little things I wanted to ask you your opinion on. Things that I know, things and topics that we've kind of discussed before that I know you care about. So you mentioned that you're playing a lot of tennis, and I know you've been playing a lot of tennis, but you've mentioned it on the show that you've been playing tennis. So did you have any thoughts on Novak Djokovic getting kicked out of the U.S. Open?
Well, they had no choice but to kick him out. The minute that ball hit the lines person or the umpire
Yeah.
or whatever title she holds,
Yeah.
the second it happened, he was gone. They had no choice because that is the rule. And I've seen it happen to other professional tennis players.
Yeah.
So he had to go. Like, there's no two ways about it.
And apparently, like he many times he's like smashed the ball in anger, and he's been asked in press conferences, well, what would happen if you would hit someone? And he was like, well, so far I haven't, like so, but now he did. So yeah, I guess you're right. They had no choice, right?
I mean, I'm sure he didn't do it intentionally, but still, the rule is you hit someone.
No, he didn't do it. Yeah, he didn't do it intentionally, but you do have to assume some responsibility because your actions injured someone, regardless of what it was intentional or not.
Of course.
Yeah. And then the other, like, can we call it like maybe the idiot of the week, or the idiot is Kirk Cousins, quarterback of the Minnesota Vikings?
Yes, you sent me this one. This is too funny.
I mean, like he's like, I'm not afraid of COVID-19. If I die, I die. I mean, that is the quote. If I die, I die. I mean,
well, good
I think
for him.
Yeah, good for him. I think like there's not much more to say about that, and other than that, like, okay, good luck, Kirk. Right?
So on the flip side, this is not like the top idiot of the week. This is the complete opposite.
Yeah.
So remember we talked about Laurent Duvernay-Tardif a few weeks ago, how he's opting out of the NFL season because he wants to help the healthcare workers in Montreal.
Right.
So he's still doing that, but in addition to that, now he's also going to be taking online classes at Harvard University.
Oh God.
Because he wants to increase his, I don't know what you call it, knowledge.
Yeah. I wonder if he's ever going to go back to the NFL.
He says he is. Like, he said he's going to.
Yeah. I mean, he's a good player. He wasn't an all-star, but he was a starting lineman on the Super Bowl winning team.
Yeah.
Like, he's obviously good.
For sure.
It's just a question of his passion. Is he still going to be passionate about playing football next year, or is he going to just want to continue with medicine? Anyways, good luck to him. I mean, obviously he's sounds like an amazing person.
He really does.
All right, so the show this week is top our favorite sports uniforms, right?
That is correct, and this was your topic.
Yeah, but before we do that, I wanted to dive into the mailbag.
Mailbag.
Because we got a whole bunch of mail from last week's last time. I keep saying last week, but it's 2 weeks ago.
That's okay.
The last episode about our favorite cartoon characters.
Yes, it was a very heated, controversial topic.
I don't know about controversial, but people loved it, So Jeff Leitman from California commented on our Facebook page saying, "Fun episode, guys." He seems like a super listener. Honestly, it seems like he listens to all of them. Jesse Jackson from Dallas, who I neglected to mention last time. He is the host of a podcast called Set Lusting Bruce. It's a Bruce Springsteen podcast. I'm going to be guesting on that show. I'm recording this week with Jesse. So he sent us an email saying, loved the top 7 cartoon characters. I'll just read it. As a big comic book fan, it would have been easier for me to pick Superman, Batman, etc. However, I think that the spirit of the list has to be non-superhero selections. Here, and he gave his list in no particular order. Some of them are similar to ours in Bugs Bunny and Rocky and Bullwinkle, but he also, of course, had Lisa Simpson. We're not Simpson guys. And then he included some other Peanuts characters like Linus, and also Looney Tunes, Foghorn Leghorn, and Pepe Le Pew, who, didn't really hit our lists. And then you sent me some screenshots of some texts that you got from Dave, your friend in Toronto. And actually, I'm counting them as Dave and Donna, the dynamic duo, who are a married couple and friends of yours from Toronto, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So Dave texted you writing, "I'm totally with Josh on always wanting smartass Roadrunner get his ass kicked by that coyote just once." And Dave was surprised that you, Josh, were not as into the Flintstones as much as I was. And thank you, Dave, for writing that. He wrote Skip totally gets it, which is really cool. And he said, by the way, Skip's favorite episode of the Flintstones is the same episode as Donna's favorite. And she was very excited to hear me mention that episode on the show. And he mentioned a really weird fact that apparently Dave was a host of a Flintstones trivia show on a local Toronto radio station kind of a lifetime ago. So
Yes.
that's pretty cool, actually.
It is.
Yeah. So I love the mail. I love getting the feedback. It's actually just sort of reinforces like the reason why we do the show is just to get a chuckle from anybody who wants to listen. No?
Absolutely. Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Top 7 sports uniforms.
So this week we got, my list, our favorite sports uniforms. Like I have 19. I have a list of 19. Do you want to just go top 7?
I also have about 20, but I would prefer to just go top 7.
Okay, let's go top 7 then. So like before we get into the list, like do you have like any special criteria? Are there things that you looked at? Like as I was doing the list, like I came up with a few thoughts of like what I liked, like.
Well, so for me, the thing is this, because if I just say to you, like if I just name a team to you, that doesn't really mean that I like their current uniform, because they might have changed their uniform like 12 times. Yeah. And so I'm going to tell you exactly which uniform I'm referring to. It could have been 5 years ago. It could have been this year,
Yeah.
So there's a few like that where I'll say the name of the team and you might think their uniform is nothing special. But then if I tell you which one I'm referring to, you might understand.
Right. That makes sense. I mean, as I was going, there's a couple of things for me that were apparent. Was like, if you're talking about baseball and football, the hat and the helmet is a key factor. Mm-hmm. Obviously, I mean, obviously the whole thing is mostly the colors. Obviously, what appeals to you in terms of colors, which is very subjective. Obviously, you might like different colors than me or color combinations, but like the hat or the helmet is important. And then obviously, like the other thing is like, how much do you like the team? Like.
Oh, I didn't even factor that in.
You didn't factor that in because there's some teams here, like the teams that a lot of the uniforms on my list are teams that I really like, which is part of the reason why I like the uniforms. So, you didn't factor that in. Good, you're a better man than I am. That's cool.
Well,
all right.
I don't know if that makes me better, but
Well, whatever. So my number 7 is the Boston Red Sox, and like you mentioned, it's a very specific version of the Boston Red Sox. And what I'm talking about here is the 1970s Red Sox, which is the white uniform with the Red Sox written across the chest and the red Red Sox cap. Mm-hmm. So if anybody wants to Google what I'm exactly talking about, just look up like 1975 Fred Lynn or 1970s Carl Yastrzemski, and you get that awesome red Sox cap, which is they haven't ever come back with, because any Red Sox cap in the more modern era are always the blue caps. But the red Sox cap is awesome, and that's why they're number 7 on my list.
I think they sometimes use the red.
Yeah, well, I mean, all these teams have throwbacks at one point or another, but yeah, it's not in the regular rotation.
So number 7 for me, it is actually a current uniform.
Mm-hmm.
So it's the Philadelphia Flyers, but not the regular Philadelphia Flyers. It's sort of like, I think they have a third jersey or an alternate jersey. I'm not sure what they call it. It looks like the old jersey from like the 70s.
Yeah.
Where it's orange, mostly orange, and the nameplate is like off-white, and there's a stripe at the bottom, sort of where the waist is, that's also off-white. It's got where the neck is, it has those laces that you have to tie it up.
Yeah. Well, a lot of the teams went with that laces at the neck.
Yeah.
Recently. So you're talking about it's like an orange color, the base, right?
It's mostly orange. It's like 90% orange.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you the Flyers orange uniform is beautiful. Definitely worthy pick. I'll tell you one Flyers uniform that's not a worthy pick is the Cooperall version. Oh yeah. Remember?
Oh yeah.
We could do a whole other podcast about the worst uniforms.
Yes, could.
So my number 6 is in the world of baseball, and that is the Houston Astros uniform from the 70s and 80s, which is referred to as the rainbow uniform. Is that what it's called? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. Oh, I definitely know what you're talking about. 100%.
It's mostly orange, but it's shades of orange, and it's, gradient, I guess you would call it, and I mean, Nolan Ryan is what I picture wearing that uniform, basically Nolan Ryan, Jose Cruz, those guys.
I have to tell you, if we had done 8, Houston Astros, that exact uniform was on my list if we had done 8.
That's cool. I'm glad we were in agreement.
So number 6 for me is the Vancouver Canucks. Now,
no.
The Vancouver Canucks have had a million different uniforms in like their 40 or I don't know how many year history they've been around.
Some of them are really bad.
Some of them are really bad. There's 2 that I like.
Yeah.
I'll tell you which ones. So one of the ones I like, it's their white uniform, which used to be home but is now road, I guess.
Yeah, that happened to all the NHL teams.
And it has basically all it has in the middle is a hockey stick.
Yeah, that's a beautiful one.
I really like it.
Yeah, but that's like the white and blue green colors, or is it?
But it's mostly white.
Yeah.
And yes, it has the blue and the green.
Mm-hmm.
The other one that I like, you're probably not going to agree with me, and I think it's from 1993. So it's again the white uniform. This is when they had those stripes, the red, yellow, and black stripes. I don't know if you remember this, but not the V-neck one. I'm not talking about the V-neck one.
No, that's
the
awful.
one, yeah, the one that looks like Star Trek. I don't like that one.
No.
This one, I'll send you a photo of it because it's hard to explain. It basically says Canucks in the middle. It's a round logo in the middle, and it looks like fire because the colors are red and yellow and black. It's pretty cool.
But they didn't wear that for very long, did they?
I think Pavel Bure wore it, if I'm not mistaken.
I always picture Pavel Bure in the black one, but
well, they had a black one very similar to
I
this,
know.
but this I'm referring to the white one though.
Yeah. All right, that's cool. Number 5 for me, Josh, Montreal Expos. They've had some nice uniforms in their day. You mentioned the other day how much you love the logo, and that obviously that's on the hat. So I'm talking about the Expos baby blue uniforms. You know, it's the light baby blue with the traditional Expos cap with, the 3-color cap. I mean, it's an iconic look, no? And there's a reason why, even though the Expos haven't existed since 2004, Expos merchandise still sells like crazy on all the MLB websites, shops, all the stores that sell baseball memorabilia. Expo stuff is still popular.
It might be more popular now than it was when they had a team.
It's true, actually.
And actually, you of course you remember the Washington Nationals wore that exact uniform for a game last year.
Yeah, exactly. I sent you a picture of Max Scherzer wearing that uniform.
Yeah. So number 5 for me is the Minnesota Wild, but I need to be very specific here because they also have had a bunch of uniforms.
Yeah.
So they have an alternate uniform which is mostly red. And in the middle, it has a round logo that says Minnesota Wild in green and off-white. And it also has the laces at the neck. It's a very nice uniform.
I have to Google it. I can't picture it in my head. But Minnesota Wild. Yeah. You really weren't joking when you said you didn't have to have an affinity for the team for it to be on your list.
I don't have an affinity to any of these teams.
Wow, that's awesome. All right, so number 4 for me, I'm going to the world of college football, Josh. NCAA. The Notre Dame football uniform, and I'm specifically talking about the complete blue uniform with the shiny gold helmet. And the reason why this made my list is because those gold helmets are amazing. Like, it's iconic, and I just love those gold helmets.
That's a good pick. I didn't even consider college football at all when I was making my list.
There's a lot of good college football uniforms. Like, I have some in my honorable mentions, like Michigan, UCLA, USC. These are like nice uniforms. Yeah.
Okay, so I guess I'm at number 4, and number 4 for me is the Edmonton Oilers. But again, I have to be very specific here. This year, and I think last year also, the Oilers had this orange uniform, and it was like a really cool orange.
Yeah.
You notice there's a common theme here because I like the Flyers, which is also orange.
Yeah.
So it's just mostly orange. It has the round Oilers logo right in the middle and the front. It's got the blue shoulders and the blue stripe at the bottom of the jersey. Anyway, it's just a really nice jersey. I really like it.
But that was from recent times, like you said?
They wore it this year, and I think they wore it last year as well. They certainly wore it this year.
I like the 80s Oilers uniforms, the Gretzky one, which is like the light blue with the orange letters.
Yes, I do know what you're talking about.
Didn't make my list, but I do like that uniform. Okay, number 3, and now if we're talking about, having an affinity for the team, as being one of the reasons why it made my list. It's not just like that I love the team, it's also love of country. And that is Team Canada's hockey jersey. And now there's been a lot of good ones and a lot of bad ones over the years.
I'm curious to know which one you're referring to, because
I like the one from 2010. That's,
when Sidney
the golden
Crosby.
goal. Yeah, the golden goal and Sidney Crosby and all that. It's a very, I'm talking specifically more about the white one. So it's white and it has orange shoulders and it has a maple leaf, just a maple leaf on the front.
Don't you mean red shoulders?
Red shoulders. Yeah. What did I say?
Orange.
Oh no, sorry, no, orange. That's ridiculous. It's a white jersey, yes, with red shoulders and the red maple leaf on the chest and red numbers. It's a classy look, because Team Canada, they often tried like to get a little too modern with their look, with these black uniforms with the black maple leaf, and it's kind of like this one. I like it because it's kind of like the Canadian flag, but like on a jersey.
I didn't like when they had those black uniforms. To me, that's like a cop out, because any team can wear black and say it's their colors.
Yeah.
But when you're talking about Team Canada, when you're talking about international sports, the color of your uniform should be the color of your flag.
100%.
And there's no black in the Canadian flag at all.
Yeah, ours should always be red and white, and
that's
then
it.
USA should be the red, white, and blue. And then there's a reason why Brazil's uniforms for soccer is that bright yellow with green, because that's their flag.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So number 3 for me, finally I get to a baseball team. Funny, I thought that all 7 of mine originally were going to be all baseball teams, but I only had 3. So number 3 for me is the Brooklyn Dodgers.
Oh my God.
And I'm referring
great.
I'm referring to specifically, they had this gray jersey with buttons going down the middle, and it said Brooklyn in cursive letters going across the chest.
Yeah.
It's really nice.
As a few years ago, well, it's more than a few years ago, my son was playing Little League Baseball.
Yes.
And they chose the name the Royals and for his team here, and it was a throwback to the Montreal Royals. So the uniform that he had, and I'm sure I must have sent you a picture at one point, was exactly what you described. He had a gray uniform with blue writing across the chest that said Royals, and they had the proper cap, like the Montreal Royals, like the Dodgers. Cool. It was really, really such a beautiful uniform for like a Little League team. It was really amazing.
That's very cool. By the way, the Brooklyn Dodgers also had a very nice hat, a blue hat with a bee, and the font of the bee, I don't even know how to describe it, but it's just really nice.
That's the hat that he had for his team.
There you go.
Yeah. My number 2 for me, I'm going to the NFL. And I'm going Philadelphia Eagles.
Oh, here we go.
Well, but Josh, I'm an Eagles fan, but this uniform is beautiful. This is they don't wear it anymore. They wear it only for throwback times. I think it's from the 60s, to be honest. It's what they call the Kelly green. Now, I don't know what that means, but that's what it's called. Mm-hmm. It's the light green, and what makes it all the more beautiful is the helmet is also the light green, and it has these silver eagle wings on the helmet. It's a stunning look. They should wear it actually all the time. Although if they wore it all the time, it wouldn't be as special whenever they pull it out of the closet. It's really just a beautiful, beautiful look, and for one of my favorite teams.
Number 2 for me is the Milwaukee Brewers for a couple of reasons. So
that's a good one. I love the logo.
The logo for the Milwaukee Brewers, the old logo, which they sort of brought back finally, is a great logo because it's got the M and the B, and it's a baseball mitt with a ball in the middle. It's really cool.
I love that logo. That's the Robin Yount era.
Yes. But also their new uniforms this year, they sort of went back to their old style. So it's a navy blue with gold writing across the chest. It's got buttons down the middle and gold writing across the chest. It says Milwaukee. It's really nice.
Right. Yeah, I've seen that one. That's super.
Yeah.
All right, I'm at my number 1. We've breezed through this list, no?
Well, yeah, I mean, what are we going to tell it's just uniforms.
I know. It's just uniforms.
Yeah.
But the uniforms are so important, right?
They
How many times did we talk about how gross the Thursday night uniforms were?
There's some good ones. There's some that are okay, but yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah. So my number 1 is also an NFL uniform. And it is the San Diego Chargers powder blue. You know what I'm talking about?
I do.
It's the powder blues. They also, it's like the Eagles, like it's a throwback. They pull it out from time to time. Usually, sometimes once a season, you see them wearing it. So it's the powder blue, and then of course the helmet is the blue helmet with the yellow and white like lightning bolts on it. You know, when I think of the San Diego Chargers, when I started watching football, it's like the 80s. So that's like the Dan Fouts era, and that's not the uniforms they wore. You know, they had a much darker blue. And then one day I saw this like Chargers. I was like, oh my God, when they were in the AFL, they had this powder blue uniform. And I was like, they need to wear this all the time. It just like caught my eye, you know, like, and when I said that we're doing the list of top uniforms, I knew right from the start it was going to be number one.
All right. Well, that's very cool. I don't have any football uniforms on my list. I don't have any basketball uniforms on my list. My list is all hockey and baseball.
Right.
And so finally, and I knew this would be number one for me from the get-go.
Yeah.
It's the Oakland Athletics. And
no, really?
First of all, it's the one that's like the dark green, and it has buttons going down the middle, and it says Athletics in cursive across the chest in yellow. It's very nice.
The dark green with the yellow. I can picture Ricky Henderson stealing bases with that uniform.
I can send you pictures.
Picturing it in my mind's eye. Good list, Josh. Just goes to show, right? We didn't have any the same, no?
We didn't have any the same. And I didn't pick any Montreal teams.
No, that's super weird. None the same. So, like I said, I had 19 in my list. So I'll just go through like the ones that didn't make my top 7.
Mm-hmm.
So 49ers, red and gold, like that's what I call the Montana era.
Mm-hmm.
Chicago Blackhawks, red, pretty iconic. Same thing with Montreal Canadiens, red, super iconic. The Oakland Raiders, well, now are they called the Las Vegas Raiders?
Mm-hmm. They are.
But the silver and black, silver and black, it's gorgeous. I mentioned before, Michigan football, the blue uniforms with the yellow and then the Wolverine style helmet.
I believe it's called maize.
Ah, maize. You're right. It is. That's beautiful that you knew that. Going to the world of international soccer, Croatia, the red and white checkerboard. You ever see this?
Oh, yes. Okay.
Yeah. And then, of course, Brazil, the yellow with the blue shorts, the yellow jerseys. New England Patriots, red uniform.
Seriously?
Yeah. Not the new one. It's like from the 70s, like with Pat Patriot on the helmet. You know the guy? The guy snapping the ball, the Minuteman snapping the ball on the helmet? Yeah. Flyers orange, which you mentioned. Chicago Bears, dark blue. It's their current uniform. It's beautiful. The very, very, very dark blue, almost black.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, I know you don't like these, but the Yankee pinstripes and the Cubs pinstripes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So my honorable mentions are the St. Louis Cardinals, very classic.
Yeah.
Houston Astros, the Nolan Ryan years.
Yeah.
The Pittsburgh Pirates, the yellow ones.
The one with the weird hat?
Yes.
The hat that was like I don't know what they call it, the
painter hat.
Like the painter hat. Yeah. Oh my.
The Pittsburgh Penguins, and actually I like the Penguins, the baby blue one, but also the yellow one. The Nashville Predators, the yellow one.
Yeah.
Denver Broncos from the John Elway years.
Oh yeah.
The Orange Crush.
Yeah, the Orange Crush. Those are nice.
The Baltimore Orioles, the San Francisco Giants, the Los Angeles Lakers, but it's a uniform that they don't wear very often. It's the one that's mostly white with some purple in it.
Yeah, that's nice. I don't like the yellow one that much, but I know the one you're talking about.
They hardly ever wear it. The Golden State Warriors, the yellow one.
I don't like that one.
The Green Bay Packers.
Oh, yeah, that's iconic.
And I also have the Los Angeles Chargers, the Los Angeles Rams, the Miami Dolphins, and the San Francisco 49ers.
Miami Dolphins, the teal blue.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's hot.
It is.
No?
It is.
Yeah. Wow, that's great. When I started to make this list, I was like, how am I going to make this list? And then all of a sudden, before you know it, I have 19 things on my short list, which is like, okay,
The list gets long pretty quick.
Then putting them in order becomes actually the hardest
For
part.
sure.
Yeah, for sure.
The Skip and Josh podcast is available wherever you listen to podcasts, including Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and Spotify. If you listen to the show through Apple Podcasts, please leave a review. To interact with the show, send an email to skipandjoshshow@gmail.com. Follow the show on Twitter @skipandjosh, and go to facebook.com/skipandjosh to like the show page. To see links mentioned on today's episode, go to skipandjosh.com. And now for some final thoughts from the guys.
So I have a whole bunch of little comments to end the show. I'll just go to the world of TV, Josh, with two things. I don't want to write a whole top 10 list in the end of the show here. You mentioned a month or two ago that Andre Dawson was in the news because he's now owning and operating a funeral home in the Miami area.
Yes.
Yeah. So CBS is developing a TV show based on Andre Dawson and his second career as a funeral home owner.
That is the weirdest thing I've ever heard.
They even know the name of the show is going to be called Closure, and I think it's really just loosely based on the idea of, a former major league star operating and owning a funeral home. So that's pretty cool, no?
It's interesting. I don't know that seems like an odd thing to do a show about to me.
Yeah, but they're going to make it into this uplifting type of show where every week he's going to be helping someone in need and getting over the loss of a loved one. It's never going to be a show that I'm ever going to watch, to be honest.
Okay.
Sorry.
No,
I wanted to continue with TV before you go.
Okay.
So speaking of shows that you should watch, Netflix. Are you a fan of The Karate Kid, Josh?
No.
Wax on, wax off, breathe in, breathe out, wax on, wax off.
No. Okay. Well, this is going to be lost on you then. But there is a show on Netflix now. Actually, it was already on YouTube Premium, but now Netflix has picked it up, and it's the #1 show on Netflix, and all of a sudden it's super popular, and it's called Cobra Kai, and it's sort of the Karate Kid, 40 years later, and that's all I have to say. But boy, oh boy, you should watch it. It's awesome.
Okay.
Anybody who ever liked the Karate Kid should be watching this show.
Very cool. Your buddy and mine, Coach K, thought it would be a good idea to allow all 354 NCAA Division I teams into the tournament.
Really?
You didn't hear this?
No. So you want a 350 team tournament?
I misspoke. It's 346 teams.
Still.
Now, I don't know how many weeks would that take to finish.
How do you go about seeding that?
Well, that's the other thing. So is Duke going to play the 346 seeded team in the first round? And are they going to win by 100?
Well, yeah, because they're going to end up playing one of the last place teams in the Penn League or in in the worst league, the worst conference in Division I.
Right. And what's the final score of that game going to be?
Well, it's going to be a pretty big spread.
It'll be over by halftime.
Well, not just that game. We're probably the first 5 games.
Right. So anyway, he proposed this, and I think the entire ACC conference was in agreement, and they proposed this to the NCAA, but then 24 hours later, the NCAA said, no, it's not a good idea.
Well, because then it's not even a tournament. Well, I mean, I guess it's a tournament, but maybe you do this instead of playing a regular season.
Well, it might take just as long to finish the tournament.
Absolutely.
Although, I mean, if you think about it, you start with 346 teams. After the first round, half of them are gone.
Whatever it is, but that's a lot of games.
It is. Some of them would overlap, obviously. You couldn't have, the way they do it now, you get to watch every minute of every game, sort of, but that wouldn't happen.
No, I get you. All right. Is that it?
That is it.
That's all you got?
That's all I got.
Do you know what the topic is next week?
I haven't looked that far ahead.
When I say next week, in 2 weeks? I don't remember what it is.
Actually, I had another question I wanted to ask you.
Yeah, please.
Did you watch your favorite Kentucky Derby
Oh my God, I didn't watch.
You didn't watch? You love the Kentucky Derby. How'd you miss it?
I started to watch like the build up, and of course they're still trying to do a 3 hour like pre-race,
Which is hilarious.
but like without the people in the stands and all the women with the giant hats and the mint julep and all that, like there's honestly no point. Like, it's just like there's just no point in the whole thing.
I would say
so
I would say there's no point even with all of that other stuff, but that's just me.
Yeah. But the other thing is, you texted me this week and asked me if I was watching the NBA playoffs. Like, you haven't been watching, obviously, or?
No, I haven't watched any because, I mean, I know what happens because I get the scores on my phone.
Yeah.
But I don't have the sports channels, so I can't watch the NBA until the finals.
Gotcha. Well, that's soon, so.
Yeah.
The good news for me is, well, look, I was the only person in Canada like not cheering for the Raptors.
Right.
So
right.
I was actually thrilled yesterday that the Celtics won because that's my team.
I heard Game 6 was very exciting.
I just have a lot of respect for the Raptors. Even though I wasn't cheering them, I do have a lot of respect for them. And I have so much respect for Kyle Lowry. What a player, honestly. Like, he just gives everything, you know, like what a player. But I'm happy that I won't be hearing the Sportsnet announcers anymore, because watching the game, imagine like watching the game, you're watching your team, I'm rooting for the Celtics, but I have the visiting team announcers doing the play-by-play and the commentating, and they're totally homers, you know?
But I think TSN, I think when the Raptors game's on TSN, I think it's even worse from what I'm told.
Well, you have different announcers, but like, yeah, but it's still the Canadian point of view. So I'm looking forward to watching the Celtics finally with the American announcers, which will be a nice breath of fresh air for me anyways.
By the way, thanks to Jimmy Butler, the Celtics are basically going to the finals now.
Well, no, I'm not sure the Celtics are going to beat Jimmy Butler.
I think if the Celtics don't beat the Heat, there's a problem there.
Yeah, the Heat are good. It should be a good series. Anyways, I'm looking forward to it. The NBA playoffs has been really, really good. As has the NHL, you know, like honestly, it's been great games. So good distraction from the outside world. And yes, by the way, in 2 weeks, the next episode is the top 7 mascots.
Oh, okay.
So we got to get busy, you know, preparing for that one. You know, we're always very, very mascot friendly here on the show.
We are, absolutely.
All right. Speak to you in 2 weeks.
Okay.